Did you know that there is a capital city that was designed for millions of inhabitants, but is now nearly empty? And that Spain squandered $1.3 billion on a megaproject that was never utilized and is still absolutely worthless. Today, we will examine 5 of the world's most pointless megaprojects. Please like this video and subscribe to Mind Blowing before we proceed. Comment here with your opinions regarding these megaprojects. Number 5. Yucca Mountain Nuclear Waste Repository. The idea of this megaproject was conceived in response to a critical global problem. Nuclear waste is less frequently discussed as compared to other environmental issues. However, if improperly managed, it can be more lethal than anything. Currently, nuclear waste is kept above ground, close to the power stations from where it originates. However, scientists believe that burying this hazardous trash is the safest and most permanent way to dispose of it. In the 1980s, U.S. officials began searching for a lasting solution to this escalating trash problem. In 1987, Yucca Mountain in Nevada was determined to be the finest alternative available. It was adjacent to the most frequently used nuclear testing site in the United States and far from population areas. The concept was to bury nuclear garbage from throughout the nation in a 300-meter deep tube complex beneath Yucca Mountain. In addition to its remote position, Yucca Mountain is composed of millions of years of volcanic ash. It enables the Yucca Mountain to absorb nuclear waste without deteriorating or breaking. On paper, Yucca Mountain appeared to be an ideal location for a repository, but Nevadans rejected the idea. There are more than 100 operating and decommissioned nuclear reactor facilities in 34 states, but none in Nevada. Therefore, members of Congress and the general public vehemently rejected the notion of being the sole nuclear waste repository in the country. In addition, the official hydrological and geological studies of Yucca Mountain have been in question. Opposition claimed the location was inappropriate for a repository because it posed a threat to a neighboring water supply. The water source runs into the Amargosa Valley and has been used by Native Americans for millennia. In 2002, the project was approved despite resistance, and the Department of Energy resumed construction. However, Nevada's opposition grew stronger. They argued that frequent exposure during transit will stigmatize Nevadans and negatively impact the state's tourism industry. According to the opposition, the only reason Nevada received the repository was due to its lower population and smaller congressional representation. The entire project had become very political by the time Barack Obama entered office, and in 2010 the Obama administration found it untenable and canceled its financing. 3 years later, a federal judge again ordered in favor of the project, but little progress has been made since then. The Biden administration has said unequivocally that Yucca Mountain is no longer in the country's plans. After 4 decades, it appears Nevada has won the war. The Yucca Mountain project has been the subject of nearly $17 billion and decades of preparation, but it has never been utilized and hence remains a useless megaproject. Number 4. Hawaii's Interstate H3. Let's begin with a breathtakingly beautiful roadway in Hawaii, the Aloha State. The 26 kilometers long Interstate H3 through one of the world's most breathtaking vistas. It is astonishing that there were actual concerns about motorists stopping and causing traffic problems. However, the roadway is both gorgeous and contentious. The route would connect the Pearl Harbor Naval Base on the south part of the island to the Marine Corps Air Station on the east coast. When its construction was announced in 1960, environmental groups and Native Hawaiians immediately opposed it. They were concerned that the project would lead to a significant increase in urban population. Environmental laws of the period and a route adjustment to preserve the adjacent valleys forever delayed the project. Congress freed the project from environmental restrictions in 1989, clearing the stage for development to finally commence 26 years after the environmental obstacles were eliminated. The motorway ultimately opened in 1997, about 37 years after its conception. The Interstate H3 is frequently regarded as a feat of engineering due to the challenging terrain it was constructed on and the innovative technology employed in its development. In addition to several high-tech tunnels, the highway nearly always traverses viaducts to protect the valleys below. Decades of delays, route revisions, and newer, more costly technology resulted in a completion cost that was 5 times the initial estimate. The construction cost was around $50 million per kilometer, making it the most expensive cost per kilometer in the world. Despite the massive investment, not everyone can benefit from this gorgeous motorway. Critics think it is a road to nowhere, since the 1960s defense concerns are no longer relevant, and there is no direct path from the expressway to downtown Honolulu. Then there are native Hawaiians, the majority of whom continue to refuse to use the H3. They believe it cursed due to the destruction of several spiritually significant cultural sites during its construction. The Interstate H3 highway is unquestionably a success in terms of megaprojects. However, it remains useless for certain native populations. At least it has not been fully abandoned like the following project on our list. Number 3. Myanmar's Naypyidaw. The following megaproject has made it to the show Top Gear. Nevertheless, this is not only a faraway airport. Here lies the brand new capital of Myanmar. In 2002, Myanmar's former military administration began construction of a new capital in secret. Numerous nations, including Brazil, Egypt, and Pakistan, have shifted their capital cities in the past. Myanmar's leader declared his choice to the public in November 2005. However, he kept the name of the future capital a mystery. 4 months later, he disclosed the name, Naypyidaw, which literally translates to the king's residence. The causes of this dramatic capital movement were unclear. Some hypothesized that the change in military command was due to a fear of an assault via sea, while others believed it was based on the advice of astrologers. However, most of this was due to Yangon, the previous capital. Yangon is home to 7 million individuals. It is believed that the city has exhausted its infrastructure capacity, and its population is expected to quadruple by 2050. In addition, the seaside city was chosen as the capital during British control in order to help the British Navy. Therefore, it was prudent for Myanmar to relocate its capital to a more central site. The new project was constructed rapidly, and so far, successive governments have invested $4 billion on it. It appears that Naypyidaw has everything to lure tourists. A 20-lane motorway, over 100 luxury hotels in 3 hotel districts, golf courses, museums, and even a 99-meter duplicate of a Yangon icon. However, one key element is still missing: the people. The majority of the new capital's population lives in the suburbs, which already existed before the city became the capital. But why is no one interested in living there? The majority of the population is unwilling to make the city their permanent residence due to the city's lack of health facilities, decent educational institutions, and economic prospects. Therefore, the city is frequently portrayed as a desolate area and is often referred to as a ghost town. The magnificent 20-lane roadway is almost vacant. Once in a while, a lone motorist is discovered floating along the vast road, where even the thought of congestion is unheard of. The city's airport can accommodate 3.5 million passengers per year, yet even on a busy day, less than a dozen travelers utilize it. On weekends, only diplomatic personnel use the retail malls, while hotel lobbies are largely vacant. Despite the seeming desolation, the royal capital has a silver lining. It was constructed as a metropolis of the future, and despite its population explosion, Naypyidaw still has time for its inevitable redemption. Currently, it is perhaps the oddest capital in the world, and the majority of citizens do not utilize it. Number 2. Ciudad Real Central Airport, Spain. Spain is one of the most popular tourist destinations in Europe, and this was a major factor in the conception of Ciudad Real Central Airport. It was predicted to be the vacation destination of choice for both domestic and foreign tourists. The objective behind this new airport was to offer it as an alternative to Madrid's main airport, which remains severely congested. The new airport featured one of Europe's 5 longest runways and could accommodate 2 million people annually. This is a relatively small number compared to Madrid's passenger capacity of 70 million. However, expansion plans were already in place to increase the yearly capacity to 10 million. When it ultimately opened in 2009, the cost of $1.3 billion sounded reasonable. However, in 2012, the corporation behind the project filed for bankruptcy, putting an end to all these ambitions. The troubles began with the project's location. Although it was dubbed as the Central Airport, it was in no way central, as it was 200 kilometers from Madrid. This exacerbated issues, since most customers avoided traveling for hours to reach the distant area, and the majority of major airlines opted to operate flights from the metropolis. Within the first year of its inauguration, the newly constructed airport had only one tiny airline. Due to the lack of big airlines to attract customers, the airport had acquired a $350 million debt by 2012. Unsurprisingly, it went into receivership and was placed up for auction in 2013. The airport was popularized as an abandoned destination in 2014 by the iconic British television program Top Gear. In 2019, after numerous failed auctions and an outlandish $1,000 bid, the airport was ultimately sold to new owners. During the pandemic, when businesses failed and income decreased, the Ciudad Real Airport received a lifeline. Given the airport's dry environment, lengthy runway, and ample space, the new owners reimagined it as a home for stranded planes in the absence of passengers. By August 2020, there were 65 aircraft stationed at the airport, and extensions are ongoing to accommodate over 300 aircraft. This innovative method of storage provided the airport with a much-needed financial opportunity and relief. However, with the pandemic getting more passive with each passing day, all planes are removed from storage, and the resumption to normal aviation operations remains elusive. Hence, this multi-billion-dollar megaproject remains ineffective for travelers worldwide. Number 1. Forest City, Malaysia. Next on our list is a green futuristic smart metropolis that will develop from reclaimed land on 4 artificial islands, and will be constructed around an environment of an artificial forest. Forest City's closeness to the sovereign city-state of Singapore makes it an attractive investment opportunity for speculators seeking to profit from the project. Singapore is the second busiest port in the world and a booming economy. The second link bridge has already connected Forest City to Singapore, decreasing the trip between the two cities to just 20 minutes. Forest City will have its own customs facility, allowing inhabitants to transit freely between Singapore and the city. The design reportedly incorporates several eco-friendly technologies. Forest City's buildings will include green rooftops and vertical gardens, creating a jungle-like atmosphere. The lowest layer of city streets will be dedicated to traffic and parking, while the higher layer will include parks, sports facilities, and transportation hubs. Estimated to be completed by 2035 at a cost of $100 billion, the city will operate solely on renewable energy. On one of the 4 intended islands, 50 residential structures, golf courses, swimming pools, and beaches are nearing completion. This extremely ambitious undertaking, however, is not without its challenges. Numerous economic and political obstacles are currently impeding its advancement. The project is being funded mostly by China, and Chinese inhabitants have got free access to the city throughout its development years. As a result, affluent Chinese investors who could not afford the escalating housing costs in their own country flocked to Forest City. In 2019, 80% of property owners were Chinese. Even the street signs were written in Mandarin, and the few new schools in the neighborhood offered Mandarin classes. The local Malaysians cannot afford to purchase these apartments since they are priced with the Chinese market in mind. Opponents of the project referred to this flood of Chinese investors as a new type of colonialism, sparking a public outcry. Therefore, following a change in leadership, the re-elected Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad prohibited foreigners from holding property in the Forest City. Numerous foreigners began fleeing the city, and new investors were deterred from entering. The next significant setback was the pandemic, followed by international travel prohibitions. The Movement Control Order of Malaysia meant that no fresh investors could enter the country. Due to the project's unpredictability, several existing investors opted out. Therefore, by the beginning of the year 2020, less than 500 people were living in the residential complexes, which is a rather small number given that Forest City was built for 700,000 people. Since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, the project has remained in flux, with some salespeople stating that less than 10 homes have been sold in the Forest City. In addition, Country Garden cut off over 1,000 Malaysian employees in the past year, signaling the project's catastrophic decline. Forest City was likely too grandiose to begin with, too futuristic to realize, and has too many political obstacles to succeed in the near future. Even though billions of dollars have been spent on it, Forest City is today an ineffective megaproject. What are your thoughts on these megaprojects? Do you believe that any of these will be beneficial in the future? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.